I think the thing I'm most surprised about with episode 4 of Just Because is how soon it came out, because usually I don't watch this show until like 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this came out around like 12 or so. And this should show a positive direction that the series is going in, because last week I did talk about the production issues supposedly this was having with the director saying that the studio wasn't living up to what they needed to, with the studio saying the director wasn't giving them storyboards fast enough. So hopefully if this episode shows us anything, is that things are going back on track for the show, and we're going to finish off in a beautiful way, because I didn't notice too many issues with the production or anything, so I hope it stays that way because I love this series and I want to see it succeed. But episode 4, Just Because, I thought was a great episode. It more or less confirms what everyone thought was going to happen, that it'd be a bundled mess of relationships, of characters liking a character who likes someone else that they know, and that's more or less what's happening. Like, you can pretty much sum this down to as Camera Girl probably likes our main character likes Natsume, Natsume likes Haruto, who likes Morikawa, and then it just kind of jumbles up from there. And even though we've seen this before, we've seen the relationship triangles or squares or pentagons, hexagons, whatever you want to call it, essentially I like how Just Because has been doing it, because really if you look at the show at a surface level, we've seen this anime time and time again. It's just a bunch of high school characters liking another character who likes another character. That's been done to death, but there's something about the relationships and the characters and how their personalities work, and just the way we're kind of learning a bit more about them. It's not really trying to feel like it's trying to make an anime character feel like extraordinary. It really does feel like this show's just trying to go the route of making real human characters in high school their last year, and they're trying to be with the one that they seemingly want to love and be with, probably in their mind forever. And I really like how Just Because is handling it. I mean, it's no surprise with the writer and the staff behind it that this would be a very believable and well-written series, but I just really like how the characters are just interacting with one another, and just the dilemmas. It really does feel like teenagers in their kind of like, they feel like this is the most important time in their lives. They feel like they gotta be with this person, and they don't know how to kind of express their emotions properly. And I feel like Just Because is doing a wonderful job within these 4 episodes of really building on these characters, the relationships, and making us want to root for these characters, but at the same time, who do you root for? Because seemingly not everyone can end up happily ever after when they like someone else that they ultimately like the other. Like, do you want to root for Haruto? Do you want to root for our main character? I really like how they're doing it, and it makes me just very kind of worried about the future for these relationships, and hopefully it can all work out for the best. But this is anime, that's not always how it happens. I really still like Haruto the most. I just love his character, and he finally gets the courage to confess his love, and ultimately it gets shot down, which isn't surprising. This is something that I thought would happen. I mean, based on Morikawa herself, it definitely feels like she's trying to focus more on her life and her schooling, and I think she does like him. I think she does have some sort of feelings for him. It definitely gave me that vibe within this episode, but I think there's just so much going on with her life, her trying to plan out her future, that in her mind she probably thinks she doesn't have time for a boyfriend, and maybe thinks that she can't give him all the time that he deserves. I think that's the route it's going to go, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do, maybe halfway through, like maybe episode 6, maybe episode 7, they do end up together, and then that's going to spark a different sort of issue with possibly Natsume confessing that she actually likes Haruto and things like that. I don't think it's going to stay as them never being together. I think the route the show's going to go is some of these characters are going to end up together, but then that's going to spark a different relationship issue, and it's just going to go kind of spiral out of control from there. But I really like this episode. It's nothing that we haven't seen before, but I really just love how the characters are interacting, and that kind of like teenage struggle that's going on in this. It feels very real and very believable, which is what a lot of anime fail to get down right, and they just try to make it a little too extraordinary, a little too left field, where this is feeling like, it just feels like reality. This is something that doesn't have to be anime. It could just be a live action show, but nonetheless, I feel like it's working beautifully with the medium that it's in. I do think the art is really bringing out a lot of like soul and personality to these characters, and luckily, like I mentioned, there wasn't any major noticeable dips. Like last week did have some there, and I just think the voice acting is getting spot on, especially near the end of that episode where all the characters are kind of like breaking down and kind of like giving that reaction. Haruto's kind of crushedness and him hiding his tears. There was a lot of emotion in this voice acting this week, and I loved it for it. I think the thing I'm most excited for is to see where Camera Girl is ultimately going to play a factor in this cast of characters, because I feel like she could be that wild card that's really going to break this cast, because we're kind of like tiptoeing on thin ice right now of these relationships and these friendships trying to become more than just friendships, but at the same time, one wrong step and the ice will break and this cast will just come crashing down. I feel like Camera Girl could possibly be that person who's just gonna put a bit too much weight on that ice and everything's gonna come shattering down. But I'm excited to see how this is gonna go from here. I'm loving the characters, loving the interactions. Like, if you look at it, it's really hard to explain just to someone, even someone watching it, why you like this show so much, and a lot of people seemingly are having that issue. But when you watch it, either you get it or you don't. But for me, it just feels like these characters are very real, very believable. They have heart and soul, and even though I've seen this premise time and time again, I just feel like there's something interesting and just full of life about this execution, and I'm always excited for more. I hope the quality continues on this path, because I was worried last week, but luckily episode 4 is pointing us in a good direction, and I hope the remainder of the season will just continue in that. But let me know your thoughts. What are you thinking about this whole relationship drama and all these relationships seemingly not working out right now? Where do you think the show's gonna go? Let me know your thoughts. And before you leave, smack that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.